Welcome back to Too Sweet to Delete. We are -1 for a part 2 review of the WWE UK Championship. We're going straight into just the final match. We covered pretty much all our favorite matches and all the matches that had to do with our picks in the first video. If you guys haven't seen that, make sure you go check it out. So this is going to be all about what we view as, this is obviously the future of UK wrestling and the WWE brand. This is the final match of the 16-man tournament. We have Tyler Bate, 19 years old, against the bruiserweight Pete Dunne, 23 years old.
And very young guys.
Very young guys. They're on the main stage. Young guys. As we said in the early video, a lot of these guys have turned pro at a very young age. So they have a wealth of experience, but like you said, this is a sold-out house, you know, in this English ballroom arena.
Yeah, you're fighting for UK pride at this point.
UK pride, the first UK title. Both guys from England. One, you know, the heel. One, obviously, the babyface. So this is what we know before we start with the match. Like I said, this is the future of the wrestling brand. One guy's 19, one's 23. There was reports earlier in the tournament because Pete Dunne attacked Tyler Bate after Tyler won his semifinal match. Dunne attacked him. They're saying that he has a partially dislocated AC joint in his shoulder, which is obviously a work, because even if this was the final match, if the guy legit had a tear in his shoulder or anything going on with it, they wouldn't have allowed him to go through with it. Let's just be real. So we know that's a work. There was a great moment backstage with Pete Dunne and Regal, where Regal had a statement where he's like, I've worked for 6 months to bring this tournament to this country, and you want to mess it up now? And Dunne just gives him that weird grin with the mouthpiece in, because, you know, as he says in his promo, I do things my own way. I don't do things for anybody, just for me. So, very cool.
I mean, it was a great way of making the tournament have a story behind it too. You have at the final, you have the ultimate babyface of the tournament versus this great heel that they built out of nowhere just for this tournament.
Just from him attacking people and being, you know, what makes an old school heel. Someone that's just not going to play along with the rules. Someone that's going to attack. Someone that's going to, you know, go ahead and make up their own mindset on how they're going to do things. So, like I said, totally organic heel, which leads to, before we get to into the match and the finish of it, Regal being so prominent in this heel dynamic. Does this mean that one of the guys is going to be in NXT, you know, messing with Regal because Regal is the commissioner of NXT? Does this mean that we're going to see regular stuff with Regal being upset with our heel Dunne and the other heels on the program that have debuted through the tournament? So Tyler is just babyface gold. This guy's had the crowd behind him from the beginning. Even though he's injured, they all know that, hey, he's coming. He's going to be ready to just go ahead and go against the guy that's so well known, Pete Dunne. Again, the crowd is so hot for Tyler before the match even starts. Throughout the match, they're hot for Tyler. And this is Pete Dunne, a guy that is a legitimate legend around that area. Only 23 years old, already making his mark. But this truly was a really organic face versus heel.
To talk about Pete Dunne a little bit, if you guys may have heard, a match before he did the tournament, his side was the heel side, and they're beating up the faces so bad, they start selling merch ringside during the match. And he's out there, you know, like selling shirts. They bought a photo op, like some guy paid money to go take a picture, and so like there's a guy in a headlock, and there's Pete Dunne out there with the, you know, it was great. So, you know, this guy has some creative stuff behind him. His
tag team in WCPW and in the Indies, where you would see him beating up a guy so bad he can go sell a t-shirt on the side while the guy recovers, the strong style connection. So, you know, Pete Dunne is a guy that is embracing this heel gimmick, lives it, is doing it well, been embraced throughout this entire tournament, now finally getting nothing because he's in there with Tyler. So the match starts, and immediately we see Pete Dunne going into, you know, heel tactic, limb targeting. You know, which what you see from like the Revival or I guess stick to British wrestling. A guy like Regal, a guy like Johnny Saint. Just stay right on that injured body part.
Right.
So he's going after the shoulder, which is of course a work that injury. It's really hurt.
We talked about it while we were watching it live. Was one thing you didn't like was what is with all the tape. Now some guy gets injured, so instead of putting it seems like it's a mark. Like, okay, don't mess up. My left arm is hurt. So
but here let's point it. Let's paint an X with this Kinesio tape with a circle around it, and might as well just paint a bullseye on the guy's shoulder. I get it that it works for telling the story, but why not just come out there and just have his shoulder a little wrapped up or something? We don't need the Kinesio tape. Cesaro had it for months and months, just dip dotted, X marks the spot across his back. We get it. Here's the other thing: if it is the injury is supposed to be a partially dislocated joint, what is that tape gonna do for your joint? Kinesio tape is supposed to flow through your muscles and help with that flow when you have soreness, bruising, and stuff like that. That's why you originally saw it with track athletes, football players, MMA fighters. Now, WWE seems to be using it to, here is exactly where the heel needs to be hitting the face. Moving on from there was some really nice technical mat wrestling psychology. Both these guys, apparently, even though they're both young, they trained in the same area, the same dojo or what have you. So there was, they kept touching on that throughout the match. They kept touching on the fact that they are going to have each other well scouted. So when Tyler Bate, being the more technical guy, goes into the mat wrestling, Dunn had a counter for a lot of those moves because even though he's a bruiser, he does have that same base. So I thought that was really cool to see that they were going to cover the fact that they came from the same place, meaning they have similar skill sets, even though one guy's character is more a brawler than the technical guy. They move on from there where they brawl to the outside. And
which I loved. I mean, the minute they started doing that match picked up.
The way they did it, too, which was really clever, is they were in a collar elbow tie-up, which is the basic hold that you see every lockup happen in every wrestling match. So they get it, they lay to the side, and they both roll out to the side, and then they start fighting. And there's a really cool strong style spot, which you see in Japan, where just a back and forth, come on, you hit me, I hit you back, you hit me, I hit you back. Really good stuff. Tyler got the better of it, even though
Dunn sold it well.
Yeah, Dunn sold it. Just wow, this babyface kid is strong, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. So they get back into the ring. More shoulder work, getting Bate down to the mat. Tyler Bate really sold it well. The way it was almost Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu style, with him laying on his back and throwing kicks at the legs and the body of Pete Dunne, keeping him at bay while he cradled the shoulder and would use the other arm to roll around on the mat. So he would just kind of move around and then throw these kicks. And it was really kind of cool to see that because it showed that, hey, the kid is not going to give up. There was some advantage there. Tyler Bate moves along and lands this corkscrew, not a corkscrew, but this flying uppercut that he does from the ropes. He's been doing it in every match. But when he landed, he immediately sold the injured shoulder. Right. So there was that heel face advantage of, Dunn is laying there because he's been knocked out by an uppercut. Right. But there's no opportunity to cover because I'm out because I didn't care about my shoulder. I'm so tough. I kept working so hard. So that was really cool. Pete Dunne gets caught up in Tyler's going for the Tyler Driver 97. Yeah. And he can't lift him over because the shoulder.
No, but he sells his back, though, is what was weird. He wants to do it, and he sells his back. And I'm like, the dude hasn't touched your back the whole match. If I had anything about that match bad to say, it's like, you sold your back being hurt.
That's where they, maybe him being a young kid or maybe anticipating something that was upcoming, he just really did not remember to sell the shoulder, which is why he couldn't get him over, not his back. So Dunn goes in right there, noticing that he's weak. He goes in for the bitter end, which is a really cool kind of a hammerlock dropping maneuver. He has him picked up, and Tyler Bate reverses that into his airplane spin, which he has done in every match. Yeah. This one seemed like it went a little longer, though.
Yeah, because he spun him. He spun him again, and then he did this dip, right? Like he squatted him and then just, I think, spun him.
He spun him. Turned him like into the squat dip. They both go to the ground. And this is where, like, maybe you'll get some of my gripes, because you know how I feel about WWE and wrestling and submissions coming from more MMA background. Pete Dunne puts him in an arm-in triangle from his back, you know, so he's got his legs wrapped around his head, his arm is trapped in there. And instead of them selling that as a legit submission, as a chokehold, Pete Dunne starts slapping the tape on his shoulder. So, I'm just, instead of choking him out and winning the match, I'm going to keep hurting his shoulder. Which made no sense, because one of the best spots of the match is that Tyler dips down, picks him up and over into a deadlift.
Oh my God.
Brainbuster.
And you don't see those at all anymore, a brainbuster on WWE TV.
You're not supposed to attack the head in WWE.
And it was a beautiful brainbuster.
Yes, and just pure deadlift from a submission, just kind of dipped him over, flipped him over, bang, drops him beautifully. Like I said, one of the best spots. It was actually a spine buster that he did that. I'm sorry, I had that wrong. He picks him up because we all had it wrong. He again, I apologize.
At some point, there's a brain buster.
There is a brain buster in this match, and it's very cool. But no, from there, you've got him in the arm, the triangle with the arm in, with the legs over. Picks him up into like a guillotine position, so he has him in a guillotine, and then Bate powers out, spins around into a really nice spine buster. At that point, the crowd is going insane. They are all about Tyler. They're singing, they're pointing, they're laughing, they're dancing. It's all about Tyler. Nothing for Pete Dunne. He had a very consistent bruiser weight type of chant that was going on throughout the tournament, but not at all in this. Dunne rolls to the outside after the spine buster. Tyler Bate hits the rope, comes back for an amazing reverse plancha type of dive over, and lands beautifully on Dunne. They land all the way out on the ramp. It was a really nice spot coming from a guy who, by the way of his look and his regular work rate, you don't see that coming. Right. Just a beautiful dive right over the top. We may have frozen, but we're going to keep on talking because the clock is ticking. From there, what we thought was a botch was Tyler Bate goes up, and we thought he was going for a 450, but he jumps into a double foot stomp, and it was just amazing because we thought it was a botch. We thought, he didn't rotate far enough. But there's no way you could botch a move like that and double stomp into someone's stomach.
When you see the replay and they show it more from the side, like if it was a botch, it was such a botch that it's nowhere near a 4. He did a 360 stomp.
Yes.
But it looked bad from one angle. From the other angle, it looked totally meant to be. So we're not for certain if that was a botch or if it was a 360 foot stomp.
After rethinking it, I'm almost of the persuasion that we just thought it was going to be a 450 so bad that we thought that was going to be what he would do. But he did not. He did a stomp, which was just really vicious. They both lay there and sell for a while. A couple things transpire. Pete Dunne is able to secure the bitter end, which is what we said, his beautiful finishing maneuver. And Tyler Bate kicks out of it like a true babyface on probably one of the closest false finishes of the match. The crowd was crickets after he landed that move, knowing that it was over, and then the eruption when he kicked out was probably the biggest pop of the tournament so far. After that, something I was also puzzled with, if you're going to keep it realistic, and the British style of wrestling has always been on the more realistic side, instead of keeping attacking or maybe picking him up and doing his finisher again, Dunne goes for another submission, this time a Kimura lock, which is, if you're not familiar with wrestling or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it is totally centered around the AC joint of the shoulder. So if in fact Tyler Bate had an injured shoulder and he was stuck in a Kimura, it'd be over. So I'm already upset about the fact that he didn't go for the pin or the finishing, go for another pin or go to put his finishing maneuver back on him, that he goes to a submission that neither one of them sell, because Dunn is doing it to only attack the shoulder and not rip the shoulder out, and Bate is only using it to transition into our favorite move of the night. We spoke to early on it. He pulls him out of the Kimura lock where his arm is in a key lock all the way back, pulls it all the way through, sets arm over, and lands this beautiful dropping brainbuster. That
was great. It looked like it spiked him.
It looked like he spiked him. He went in for a cover directly right after, which was something that you love to see. No delay. You know you land a big move, you've got to cover the guy right away. That's just good ring psychology. And that was also another big false finish. Dunn kicks out at 2 to the surprise of everybody in the building. Even though Tyler had won all his matches as a true babyface by doing his finisher, this was a huge signature, big move, and didn't see it. Dunn kicks out. So they move into a couple moves from there. Tyler lands 2 of those. I believe it's called the West End kick or the East End kick. Forgive me, but it's a rolling heel kick that you would see from like guys in Japan like Low Ki and AJ Styles and guys like that. Daniel Bryan would do a variation of that too when he was in Ring of Honor as the American Dragon. He lands that kick twice. Goes into the Tyler Driver. 1, 2, 3 clean. True babyface. We have a 19-year-old first-time champion. The youngest singles champion in history.
Singles champion in history. I believe it was it Rene Dupree?
Pretty Boy Rene?
That was 19 years old as a tag champ. La Resistance.
La Resistance. The wonderful, beautiful Quebecers out there doing their thing. Overall, what an amazing tournament. This really lived up to the hype. It really set their brand apart. You can tell that they're going to take a lot more care of this than they did with the Cruiserweight Classic, because the Cruiserweight division had no idea where to go. Now they finally have a segment on the WWE Network, which is basically the 3rd hour of SmackDown now.
Right,
and this is
pretty much is.
But these guys, they were taken care of. The belt was beautiful. It's spot on. The promotion was great. All these guys had their own characters developed. There's a lot of stories to tell. I'm sure they'll be signing new, fresh talent because there's only 16
I'd like to see
guys on the
T-Bone
roster
against Eric Young. I think that would be one of my dream matches. Would be see T-Bone versus Eric
Young. That's
Young.
the thing. Are we going to see some of these guys from the roster go straight into NXT, or is this going to stick as specifically the British brand, the UK brand?
Hoping to see some of these guys.
There was a bonus match between the semifinals and the finals. It was Neville against the debuting Tommy End, who's a guy that we've always loved in the indies that we've been looking out for. That was an interesting match. There was some botches by the technical crew, actually, during that match, where a backstage interview started playing in the middle of the match, and the UK crowd, as unforgiving as they are, gave them the "you effed up" chants. So, I don't know, maybe we'll see a guy like Neville be in this mix. Maybe we'll see Sheamus make an appearance. Why not? Finn Balor made an appearance to speak to the crowd. Why not? This is a huge brand. This is a big demographic. It took them forever to get into this area of the world of wrestling, and it has paid off tremendously.
Right.
It really was a nice tournament. I'm anxious to see what these characters can do. All these guys can go. And the crowd is always going to be hot. This is the first year. They want it to take off. I'm really excited to see how deep the UK WWE following truly is. And hopefully they'll keep it on the network, because the only way that can happen is if they keep it live streaming on the network, and that way, we can wake up and watch it, and it's still viewable, great content, because the only thing we stay up till 4 in the morning for is probably Wrestle Kingdom. So at some point, maybe they'll get there. Until then, we are Too Sweet to Delete.
Sure are.
Thank you for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe.